I did for a time when I was young and foolish write music reviews. Reviews of classical music around Boston and that kind of thing. And CD reviews, that kind of thing. And what I always found my purpose was in writing the articles that I wrote was to bring to the attention of readers things that they obviously might specifically be interested in. And one of the interesting things about being a classical music reviewer in this was in the 90s, is that you know already that there's no danger that anyone is going to attend a concert if you don't publicize it. You know, it's not like the throngs of classical music goers are so huge that there's danger of people going to a bad concert if you don't stop them as a reviewer. If you don't say, whoa, don't go see this guy play his solo viola da gamba suites, because if you do, you know, you're going to have a very sorry evening. You know that the best way, if something is actually not going to work out well or has not worked out well, you know, the best way to actually move on is to simply not talk about it. And I think that that meant that I actually tended to write positive reviews of things that I liked rather than writing negative reviews of things I didn't like. Because there was no sense in writing a negative review. You're already dealing with a very fragile art form in many ways. So why kick it when it's down? Why not instead celebrate the things that are actually working out? So that was sort of an interesting time to be writing music reviews, in a sense. So music has always been really important to me. I think because it is, especially classical music, in many cases, in most cases, is nonverbal. The classical music that is verbal, like opera, tends to drive me up a wall. It's just a lot of shrieking. But I think that the classical music, symphonic forms or string quartets or that kind of thing, I was really attracted to it because it is intensely emotional and intensely visceral. But at the same time, the weird thing is, at the same time, there's no language to it that is like the language that we're used to speaking in. There is a story to, say, a good string quartet in many cases, but it is not a story that can be told in words. If you tell it in words, it becomes abstract and irritating, like, well, the first theme then modulates into the minor, creating a darker mood. You know, that's intensely boring, whereas the event itself is beyond language. And so that was always very attractive to me. In my writing, in all kinds of ways that are really not worth boring anyone with, I have actually tried to, I feel like I've learned things from the music I listen to, and I've tried to replicate some of the things of the music I love in my writing. But the problem is that by and large, it is, if I do it well, it's something that people won't recognize. And honestly, it's just far too, it's one of those kind of little games that I think many writers play with themselves at certain points. I will think to myself, okay, I'm going to try to do something almost quasi-musical in this section, but it's not something I really want people to pick up on. A good example of how I would conceive of it would be at the end of Feed, or toward the end of Feed, this satirical science fiction novel of mine in which language is falling apart and degenerating. I actually have a group of kids sitting around and playing a game of, I think it's Spin the Bottle or something. And as they do, I actually decided that what I was going to do is kind of like embed an old poetic form in there, which is a sestina. And the idea was, a sestina is a poem which repeats words over and over again in a different arrangement each time. And what I wanted to do was to use this form, not only to entertain myself in some kind of weird, crossword puzzle-y kind of way on a slow Saturday morning, but also I wanted to give the sense of how barren these kids' language really is. You know, every sentence ends with one of the same 7 words, just in rotation in different ways. That's what a sestina does. And so I did this very formally, so the idea is that all these words just cycle through again and again, all these idiotic words like fun and good and dress, and so all these people of the future have been so kind of boiled that all they can come up with are these very bland terms that are used in rotation again and again.